F1 News, Daniel Ricciardo admission made by Damon Hill ahead of Australian Grand Prix. That's the view of former Formula One world champion Damon Hill. The F1 season begins this weekend in Ricciardo's home country of Australia, and the star will be hoping to put in a good performance. It will be the first time he races for Renault, after he changed teams from Red Bull at the end of the season. Ricciardo signed a huge contract worth £37 million per year at Renault, making him the third highest paid driver on the grid. Lewis Hamilton, £56.56 million, and Sebastian Vettel, £43.22 million, are the only two drivers ahead of him. His new contract dwarfs that of his old teammate at Red Bull, Max Verstappen, who is on £14 million per year. However, Hill explained that he believes that the money had nothing to do with the decision. "I think he has lots of self-belief, and he is one of the loveliest characters in the sport," he said. He is a ray of sunshine. A lot of drivers go around with a big glum face. He always has a massive grin on, but deep down there is a burning desire to win, and he knows that his clock is running. He is 29 years old and, if you like, might have felt the emphasis. The balking has all gone to the younger guy in Max Verstappen, and he is not having it. "I think he is thinking, I am not going to be parked up and I have one more chance at it." "If I use a comparison to myself, when I was 29, I was out of a job and I became world champion a few years later. You have got to keep putting yourself forward and giving yourself the option of being no. You don't want to be marginalized in this sport and be happy at number 2, because that wouldn't sit well with Daniel Ricciardo. He would hate himself forever if he accepted that." Next news: Ricciardo right to move from Max's shadow. 1996 world champion, Damon Hill, believes Daniel Ricciardo has made the right decision to leave Red Bull for Renault. The need for a fresh challenge and doubts over the Honda engine have been cited as the predominant reasons for Ricciardo's shock decision in 2018, but Hill thinks the Aussie's former teammate in Max Verstappen also had a big role to play. "I think he has lots of self-belief, and he is one of the loveliest characters in the sport," Hill said via the Daily Express. "He is a ray of sunshine. A lot of drivers go around with a big glum face. He always has a massive grin on, but deep down there is a burning desire to win, and he knows that his clock is running. He is 29 years old and, if you like, might have felt the emphasis. The balking has all gone to the younger guy in Max Verstappen, and he is not having it." "I think he is thinking, I am not going to be parked up and I have one more chance at it." Hill also used his own personal experience as further evidence to support his claim, underlining the importance of being a number 1 driver. He added, "If I use a comparison to myself, when I was 29, I was out of a job and I became world champion a few years later. You have got to keep putting yourself forward and giving yourself the option of being no. You don't want to be marginalized in this sport and be happy at number 2, because that wouldn't sit well with Daniel Ricciardo. He would hate himself forever if he accepted that." Next news: Binotto reveals he almost quit Ferrari. Ferrari team principal Mattia Binotto has confirmed that there was bubbling tension within the team during the off-season. After missing out on yet another chance to clinch World Championship glory in 2018, the Italian media began to report of a split between Binotto and then team principal Maurizio Arrivabene. Ahead of the new season, Binotto has lifted the lid on the atmosphere at Ferrari last season and how the working environment almost led to his departure. "I felt I was no longer in a position to do my job well, and I made it known," Binotto said in an interview with the Corriere della Sera. This was not a difficulty I was experiencing alone but also related to the whole group, because even if a technical director does not work at his best, everything is reflected in those he manages. Binotto also confirmed he was attracting interest from other teams like Mercedes, but he has remained fiercely loyal to the Scuderia. Other teams have been in touch with me because my experience has value in F1, he said. I'm a Ferrari fan since I was a child. I've never thought of another team except Ferrari. Binotto went on to say that there were disagreements with Arrivabene, but did still learn from him in the process. I have always learned from everyone, even from Maurizio, and I thank him for this, he added. The personal relationship has always been good. Never a fight. The difficulties involve the vision, the management of the group or race weekend. We had different points of view. Binotto also paid tribute to the late Sergio Marchionne and how he will continue on his legacy with the current team mindset and structure. He had already promoted me to head the engines in 2014, but I think with a second nomination he wanted to break the mold, not only here at Ferrari but in F1, said Binotto. He chose a technical director who had never designed a car. It was a gamble that had to do with this horizontal organization, with which we continued to work with. As a manager, you can no longer go into detail and automatically empower people. It is not Binotto's machine, it belongs to everyone. The artist, the painter, the driver and collaborators become protagonists. Next news: Mercedes weaker without Lauda, says Horner. Red Bull boss, Christian Horner, thinks Niki Lauda's absence is being felt at Mercedes ahead of the new season. Lauda, non-executive chairman at the Silver Arrows, had been hoping to return to the paddock in time for the season opener in Australia after undergoing a lung transplant last year. But a setback during the winter, where he contracted flu and returned to intensive care as a precaution, means his comeback remains on hold. Looking in from the outside, Niki's absence is felt, Horner told the Daily Mail. Niki would be missed even more if it was a close fight for the title. He was there partly as a crutch for Toto Wolff to lean on. So the team will be weaker without Niki having a direct involvement for now. Horner feels that another person's presence is also missed, Bernie Ecclestone. Whilst Horner said Liberty have made some progress with Formula One during their reign, they ultimately lack the hard rule that Ecclestone had when running the sport. Chase has a task similar to Theresa May's with Brexit. No deal will suit everyone, and the clock is ticking, said Horner. Bernie was a dictator, and that, in some respects, is what this sport needs. You never know with him. Maybe one day he will buy the sport back, he added. He is still in good shape. He stays close to the teams, the promoters, governments. Liberty have addressed the areas where he was weak: future technologies and digital media. But in terms of negotiating a deal, there is no better person than Bernard Charles. Thank you for watching the video. Be sure to share and subscribe to your channel to get the latest sports news around the world. Wished health and success. Goodbye.